Welcome to another episode of the Edmonds Moms Room podcast. I'm Dr. Allison Fell, your host and owner of Body Motion Physical Therapy and a mom of 3. I don't know what else to say. But I am here today to tell you a little story. And I love stories because when you hear other people's stories, it's easier to find yourself in them. And when you find yourself in them, it gives you a level of self-belief that you can have what they have. Like if you find yourself in the story I'm going to tell you today, this is a pretty amazing story and I hope you haven't gone through it, but a lot of us have. And it's a cool, optimistic story of a mom who had 2 kids close together, who suffered some pain and figured out how to improve her life, improve her body, and therefore improve her family. So I'm going to get to it. And I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm straight here from the gym. I finished my oatmeal with creatine and protein powder and am sipping my decaf coffee. Start my mornings with full caffeinated cup of joe. And then I head to the gym where I drink my electrolytes and my water, get my workout, and if I'm lucky, I sauna. I did sauna for about 8 minutes today. The sauna did not feel hot, and now I'm here. So I'm happy to be chatting with you, and I hope you take away some important nuggets to help you inspire your life, make the changes that you want to do, and maybe get the help you need or figure out a plan to help you get to where you want to be so you can live the life you want to live. And if you take nothing else away, I hope it's a little bit of hope for your future, maybe for 2025, whatever that might be for you. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a patient named Jana. I am changing her name. She knows I'm sharing her story, but just asked I change her name. I'm not going to share her kids' names or anything like that. And I will just give you a little rundown on her situation. And I guarantee you, you will find parts of her story that you will completely and utterly mend with and feel like this is your life I am talking about. And again, I just hope that you can find yourself in these stories to help you give a little hope. I find when I am taking lessons from other people in life, because we're watching, right? That is society. We are constantly watching other people. And when I am looking at what other people are doing, saying, and thinking, and especially people that I admire and want to be like, I am taking lessons away from every aspect of whatever they're sharing. And I'm taking lessons away from their mistakes. I'm taking lessons away from their successes. And then I hope you do the same. So let me tell you a little bit about Jana. She is a mom of 2. I have some notes about her just in case I want to reflect back on her case a little bit. She has a 2-year-old. Well, when she came to Body Motion, okay, so she was a client, but this is her story. She had a 2-year-old and 5-month-old at the time. Both were vaginal deliveries. She went to go pick up a toy off the floor when her 5-month-old was doing tummy time, and she was home alone with the kids, and she could not move. Something happened in her back, and she felt a sharp pain, and it wasn't even the pain that was debilitating. It was just the fact that she felt like she could not move. She could not get off the floor, and she was home alone with her 2-year-old and her 5-month-old stuck on the floor, pretty much living her worst nightmare. It wasn't even the pain that scared her most. It wasn't even the pain that killed her, right? It was the fact that she felt so stuck on the floor and was scared out of her mind because her baby's laying on the floor and her 2-year-old's navigating the house. So she screams for her 2-year-old to come and grab her cell phone, and she goes and calls her husband, and he's like, I don't know what to do, but I'll come home from work and we can figure it out. So he comes home from work. It took an hour to get home. She's still laying on the floor, and he's like, okay, let's just go to the emergency room. We don't know what else to do. So they somehow he kind of picks her up, has her go into this weird position and literally picks her up, carries her into the car. And thank goodness he was strong, and she was so mortified by this experience, by the way, just so you know. She didn't want her husband picking her up because she felt like she didn't want him to know how heavy she was. She didn't want him to like hurt her more. She was mortified, to say the least. And so he gets her in the car, they go to the ER, they have the kids in the back, and she has to get in a wheelchair, go to the emergency room. They do an x-ray, can't find anything. They do an MRI, they can't find anything, and they're like, sorry, like, let's give you some muscle relaxers and we'll give you some pain medicine. And it was only a couple pills of pain medicine, and he had to take her home, and nothing had changed. Like, the pain medicine wasn't touching it, the muscle relaxers wasn't touching it, and she felt like she could not move. So she ends up going to a chiropractor, and he gets her in line where she can like start to move again. And she is happy about that, but she's still super gingerly moving, like isn't going to the gym, isn't doing anything, isn't playing with the kids, is not doing anything because she's just so scared of that happening again. She doesn't know why it happened, nothing like that. So long story short, she ends up having a friend that comes to Body Motion in Edmonds here, and her friend tells her like, did you do pelvic floor therapy? And she says no, and she's like, okay, you got to do this. This is probably why your back went out. And the friend can't, and Jana was like, I couldn't put the pieces together that this was pelvic floor related. But then she said once she started reading our website, she could really see like, okay, I should have done this kind of work, and maybe this will help me get back to a better state where I can maybe start exercising again, moving again, and playing with my kids again. But she was just scared to do all that stuff because of the drastic pain situation that put her in the ER. Long story short, she comes in, I do the consultation, and she tells me her story, and the reality is she had 2 kids super close together. Her pelvis had expanded and hadn't come back together yet. Her pelvic floor was so tight and constricted because she had because the body was compensating, and therefore when the pelvis is still separated and hasn't come back together yet after birth, the pelvic floor is squeezing so hard to try and get the pelvis to come back together. Well, it might come back together a little bit with that compensation of the pelvic floor, but then all of a sudden you have these really tight muscles pulling on your back. Long story short, she ended up having a sprain of her SI joint. So what probably happened that day is her SI joint just subluxed, or there was an inflammatory reaction that happened between the ligaments and the joints, and that sent her on a spiral, because it was still in that wonky position when I saw her. And once we got that fixed and got that put back together and then started treating her pelvic floor, she could move freely and she didn't even feel it anymore. And it was just a interesting experience because she had no idea that her SI pain in her back situation, what happened that sent her to the ER, was related to her pelvic floor. And it very much was. And her biggest thing was like, she wanted to actually have a 3rd kid, but she was scared out of her mind that her body wouldn't be able to allow her to have that next baby and next pregnancy. And she didn't want to go through it because she didn't want to be on the floor parenting 3 children, and because that's everybody's worst nightmare, is it not? So she ends up getting a lot better. It takes time. It took, I think, I can't remember exactly, but this is a year ago, so this is over a year, and she's still coming in now on a once a month basis just to keep everything strong, keep everything feeling good. She's actually gotten so much stronger. She's lost a bit of weight, so she has a lot less inflammation. She just feels really, really good. And she's going through the fertility protocol, trying to conceive her 3rd. So I think they're going to start trying again next month. But anyways, that is such a cool story. And I love sharing people's stories, and they give me permission to share their stories because she's not unique, right? Like, I've had multiple people end up in the ER, and for some reason it's been so common lately. These are tons and tons of stories, and a lot of it has to do with they're not healing after birth. What I didn't even tell you about Jana is that she also has like knee pain. She had a history of a knee surgery. She has plantar fasciitis going on. And so there's all these other things that, because her pelvis wasn't working properly and her pelvic floor hadn't healed after birth, her pelvis hasn't healed after birth, her organs and abdominals and core didn't heal after birth, she had all these other issues going on. But Jana had a vaginal delivery. Jana knows pain. She's gone through these contractions. Even though she had an epidural, she knows discomfort, and that's real pain to her. What was the ticker for her is like she just didn't want to end up on the floor again. Like, women can tolerate endless amounts of pain, and we don't even realize what we're tolerating and putting up with in our bodies until we can't do something anymore. But once we can't do something, it's usually like so compiled of compensations of things that have gone wrong in the body that it takes a lot longer to heal and fix. So I hope that if this story resonates with you and you're experiencing this SI pain, if you have ended up in the ER, or maybe you feel like you quote unquote throw your back out every 6 months to a year, that is a sign like your pelvic floor and your pelvis, it's not working. Something's not working for you. And so you're just getting continual strain until you throw your back out. And then it's like, a long course of having to heal. And if you just start now working through whatever compensations have developed to create that pain, and you start to break these compensations down, then you're going to start to heal, and you're going to not end up in that situation where you throw your back out. Now, do you have to keep it going? Yeah, it's not a one and done situation. We constantly have to keep our bodies tuned up. We constantly have to be working to strengthen our core. We constantly have to stay strong and stay supple. And that takes hard work and dedication. And of course, like, we all say we want it, but you don't realize how much you want it until you're on the floor and you can't get up. And then you regret not investing in yourself. Straight up, right? So I tell this story, and this is probably going to air like close to the start of the new year. And if you are in any of those situations, I cannot tell you enough how you need to get yourself out of that pain sequence. Because if you are in that pain sequence, even if you just feel it as an ache or you just feel it as a discomfort, it is wearing out your joints. Something isn't working right for you. And yeah, you might be tolerating it now, but come 6 months to a year when that compensation wears out and you throw your back out, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. And then that might send you down the path of getting injections. And that injection might just mask the pain and inflammation for 6 months, and then you're gonna be back in the same situation, injection or muscle relaxer, right? Like, then you're gonna be back in the same situation, not have healed the issue in the first place. So truly heal the pelvis on the inside, heal the pelvis on the outside, work on your core consistently. And it's hard, like, you're probably not an expert in this, right? And even me, like, I do this for a living. I see these patterns for a living. It is so hard for me to do this on my own body. And that's why I have to see someone once or twice a month here just to break up my compensations. I live in this body. I'm constantly programming and like making sure I'm balanced. And I mean, I train 4 to 5 days a week weightlifting. I do 4 to 5 days a week cardio. I hit 10,000 steps a day. I work on my stretching and releasing. I get 1 to 2 massages a week. I do acupuncture, and I still have compensations that develop in my body. We all do. We have these generalized underlying patterns that we consistently have to break up to live healthy and balanced in our bodies, because that's what we're constantly striving for. And that's investment in yourself, that's investment in your future self, and that takes commitment, and that takes time, and that takes putting yourself first. And as moms, we have a heck of a time doing that. So I hope this message hits with you today. If you are listening to this and you know you want to see yourself in a different position 1 year from now, please reach out and get a consultation with a pelvic expert PT, hopefully at Body Motion, so we can get to the root cause of why you're consistently throwing your back out and throwing your SI joint out. And I'm Dr. Allison Felt. Thank you for being here. I hope you have the healthiest year to come.